Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Um, Welcome to another day of Talks with UBIFRANKLIN live on Instagram. We're dealing with contracts and dispute resolution, and we're dealing with contracts and dispute resolution. Contracts and dispute resolution. So we're dealing with contracts and dispute resolutions in our music business. Is it you follow your drag green light this year? All right, we're dealing with contracts and dispute resolution. I have a guest. Amanda is an entertainment lawyer. Very smart. Amanda is a big woman. You know, so guys, if you're a young artist, you're looking for an entertainment lawyer to work with, then my next guest on this show is someone that I feel like you should, send a DM after this interview. So let me see if Amanda is here so we can get her on immediately. She's not here yet. Amanda, if you're here, say hi. So let's get to work. This is the topic. I say is contracts and dispute resolution in our music business. So subsequently, we're going to be speaking about different things. We're going to be speaking about different things that we're going to diversify to other topics around our music space. Hi, Amanda. Okay. Whoever. So we have Amanda. Amanda is going to come and break down a lot of things that we have. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, good
Hi,
evening.
Excellency. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How you doing? Good evening.
So Amanda is small but mighty. She's my boss. Um, Wherever she leads, we follow. All right, Amanda, I want you to quickly introduce yourself before we get into it. Let's see if we can do 30 minutes of impactful work tonight. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Amanda. I'm an entertainment lawyer. I'm also the head of licensing West Africa at Udundo. But yeah, before that, I'm an entertainment lawyer first. So everything within the entertainment industry, film, music, dance. Yeah, I think that's it in a brief summary. I don't think there's anything else to say.
Okay,
I've worked on
so,
some interesting deals and it's an honor to be here.
all right. So, Amanda, one quick question before you go in. You just introduced yourself, where you work, at Mundondo. Is that, yeah? I always make jokes about that name. But I'd like you to quickly, before we get into talking about contracts, dispute resolution, I'd like you to quickly tell people what you do at your current workplace. Just have that conversation first before we get into our Q&A.
Okay, so Ndundo is an African DSP, streaming download, but we prioritize download because of the audience of people that we are dealing with. At the moment, we are across Africa, but our key market is Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and South Africa. So basically, my 9 to 5 or my day-to-day activities at Dundo is to take care of, okay, yeah, someone said Dundo means music in
Yeah.
Swahili. So everything around my business is around licensing, getting the right catalog, ensuring that we're getting the proper rights.
Okay.
Because then one thing we've noticed over time, which we're trying to solve, is that most of these platforms, just few of this platform has the songs or the music from the right holders and giving artists also opportunity to make money. So my 9 to 5, everything I do is getting the right songs on Ndundo, ensuring that the artists are happy being on Ndundo. We are doing different things and different strategies and different activities to push their catalog on the platform. And at the end of the day, for them to make money. Also, minus making the money, we also stand like a bridge for collaborations. If people are trying to penetrate the East African market, or the Eastern guys are trying to penetrate the Nigerian and the Ghana market and West Africa market at large. So yeah, that's it in
Okay,
a nutshell.
that's very. You know, the reason why I wanted you to speak about this was what would drive me to my next question. Um, I want us to talk about rights. You know, you have done contracts for artists. I know that one of our new guys that we just signed, you worked on the contract for us. But I want to ask you one question. You know, there's currently disputes going on social media about who owns catalog, who doesn't own catalog. In a situation where an artist contract is done with a record label, um, how do you how do we identify who owns the catalog and whose rights would it be in that terms? Because I don't want people to go on social media every day when maybe a record label is complaining or an artist is complaining and they take sides. They have to always look at the technical situations. You know, like I said on Monday on this show, places like this for education is always not a place where people want to rush to come and listen because they are not interested. But if it's something that we're talking about, something that's negative, you see them line up. This is proper education. So, in a case where there's a struggle for catalog, as a lawyer, what would be your advice in that situation?
So the main thing is what the agreement says. That's why in the first instance, always advisable for you to have a compact agreement.
Agreement.
So we always, the first step is to follow through what the agreement says. If the agreement has a reversal clause, then what does the reversal clause say? If not, if it's a standard agreement, first of all, in every agreement, you have to transfer rights to the record label for the record label to be able to exploit that music for the benefit of both them investing and the artist in question.
Okay.
So if there's no room for what happens after the end of the contract, if those rights are reverting back, then ordinarily it stays with the record label. So most of the contracts of older record labels before, because I feel the whole reversal thing is kind of like a new thing within our industry
Yeah.
based on international exposure
Exposure. Yeah.
we're getting now.
Yeah.
So the contracts of old, what usually used to be is, oh, at the end of the contract, by the time the record label is telling you, oh, I'm not looking to renew this contract, or everybody's going their
Yeah.
separate ways. This is how much you're
Yeah.
owing us. This is how much you've invested that we've not recouped. What
Yeah.
do we do? While they are discussing that money part, they're also discussing what happens to the rights. Am
Okay.
I going to give it to you? Are we going to hold it? So usually a thing of we'll hold it till we recoup, or will you pay your money upfront? Let's now give you your catalog and go. But now
So
we're coming to the part where we're saying there should be a reversal clause, or a part where there's a reversal clause that states, oh, when the record label is done recouping this amount of money, then
mm,
the parties then share it. With that, the whole conversation coming back to have conversation later on, oh, what happens to the catalog? You evade that conversation. And that becomes a thing of record label has recouped. They take, wow, I knew this would happen. They'll take 70%, I will take
don't worry, we're
30%.
in Nigeria, we
Give
understand.
me 5 minutes. I'll be back.
5 minutes,
Yes.
okay. All right. So you can okay. So guys, you know we're in Nigeria, and Nigeria just happened. NEPA just decided to switch on the light. But anyway, where that conversation was very interesting, guys. Please share this live to as many people as possible that would like. See, this is free consulting that we're having here. It's free. It's free knowledge. So, so that if tomorrow you are going to sign a contract, right? It's important for you to have some level of information, um, some level of knowledge about what you need to do, especially when you're speaking to your lawyer, right? It's very important to. So we're talking about catalogs and reversal clauses and all of that. It would be very nice for her to come, and it would be very nice for her to come back because that conversation was very, very interesting. So, guys, while we wait for her, if you want to ask a question, please, guys, kindly ask a question here. Um, around our topic, which is contracts and dispute resolution within our industry. If there's something even you as an artist, right, that a question you've wanted to ask as an artist, please, you can ask it now. Let me take those questions before she comes back. Let me see if questions are popping up. Don't worry, guys. She'll be back shortly. Nigeria happens. You know, I wish, I pray that one day we get to a point where there'll be 24 hours power in Nigeria, and we'll all pay to have it. So, are the questions? Questions? Where are the questions? Where are the questions? Questions? Hi. Where are the questions? Questions? Let's go. Where are the questions? Let's go. So the most important thing as an artist, if you want to be in the Nigerian entertainment industry, is to have the knowledge. You see, it's called music business, right? It's called music business. It's called music business because it is a business. What is the what's it called? What is the purpose to be the sharing? What's supposed to be the sharing pattern between record labels and artists? You see, we dealt with this on Monday, which was basically everything. I always say this to people: you don't get what you don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Listen again. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Because everybody is on the negotiation table to get what they deserve. So what they negotiate, not what they deserve. Because if a record label signs you now and you agree to take 10% and the record label takes 90%, I will not blame them when you start screaming because, yes, it might be a bad contract, and I agree that's a bad contract, but you should have a lawyer, a very experienced lawyer at that. That's why I've been bringing on entertainment lawyers on the show to come and advise you and speak to you. This is free knowledge. You're just sitting in your house, and you are on Instagram Live, and you are seeing what it takes as a young artist who is trying to, get in the industry. Nobody is going to come and negotiate for you. Let's be very honest with ourselves. If I come to your shop right now to buy something, and you tell me this thing is 20 naira, right? And I negotiate that thing and I buy it for 5 naira, right? I believe that whatever I do at that point, once I pay and I leave that place, you cannot say, oh, this guy cheated me. In law, there's something called an invitation to treat. An invitation to treat is when you go to a shop and you see a product, right? You see a product and it's written 20 naira. And you leave, and you take that product and go to the counter. And on the counter is showing 50 naira. Invitation to treat in this case is you cannot go and sue the shop and say the shop put 20 naira and when you got to the counter it was 50 naira. In that case, the shop reserves the right, you understand, to say they made a mistake whatsoever. So for me, I always say that good contracts, depending on the level where you are signing with a label, should be 70-30 or 60-40. And once the artists start growing, yeah, that's 70-30, which is label 70, artist 30, or 60-40. Also, this depends on the level where the artist, right, met the record label, or the record label met the artist. So it's important for you to know that in cases like this, it is what you negotiate. And I tell people, I believe that there are artists who have signed record label deals and the deals are 50-50. And at the time they came, they had nothing to offer the label except that talent that has not been exploited yet. But because of they had good lawyers, the lawyers saw what these guys have. They have also even the artist has this. this spirit of negotiation where they feel like, you know what, let's go, let's push this thing. There's a way you get to people and you start having that conversation, right? They'll give you, it's about what you negotiate, not what you deserve. So mark this down, and so that you don't cry tomorrow and say, oh, somebody did this to me. And it's life is what, not what you deserve, is what you negotiate. So you have to negotiate for everything that you want to come to yourself. That's a great thing you need to have in yourself. I think Amanda is back. Let's see. I think Amanda is back. Uh, Amanda, sorry, man.
Hi, so sorry.
Nigeria happened, right?
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah. So so we're having, so you can continue. So we're talking about reversal clauses in
Yeah.
agreements. Yeah.
So I'm not sure where I stopped, but the introduction of reversal clause was to avoid having that conversation at the end of the day. From the beginning of the contract, it already stated this is what will happen. So it depends. Some people's reversal clause could be when we've recouped this amount of money, or when we've recouped our full money, we'll share. While some people from the off are good with the business we have, we're good with the relationship. This is what we're going to share the split. But it handles having the conversation who owns what at the end of the day. At the same
Okay.
time, some record levels also include sunset clauses, which are saying, okay, because we started some conversation for you, even if you gain some catalogs after you leave us, we're going to get this
Okay. So
percentage of this
I'd
sum.
like you
So
to,
everything depends on what you
so I'd like
negotiate.
you to because most of the people who are watching us might not be lawyers,
Okay.
right? You just said, you just mentioned a sunset clause. I'd like you to explain what a sunset clause is to everyone watching so that they have it. Because, after this conversation, I'll always upload it and people will go ahead to watch the show itself. People will want to rewatch it later to take notes and everything. I'd like you to explain what a sunset clause is.
So a sunset clause simply is a clause that protects either the management or the record label when they start a conversation, or in a situation where they start a conversation on behalf of an artist towards the ending of the person's contract. So we all know how the music business go. It's possible for you to start a conversation about a future or an endorsement deal or one partnership on the other, and it takes time for you to materialize. So sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. Sometimes it happens after your deal ends. What that sunset clause provides for is any conversation or any introduction or any deal we start at the beginning or while you're still signed with
Yeah.
us, then at the point it materializes and you make money, we're going to be entitled to this percentage. That way because there's some record labels towards the end of contract, they're always
Yeah.
very disinterested in an
Yeah.
artist because they know you're not going to really reap the fruit of your labor when you put it
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yeah.
end. But if there's a sunset clause, then you know you can work hard for the artist
Yeah.
till the very end, because you know when he eventually comes down to something and the artist is making money, you're making money off it as well.
Okay. That clause is very important. So some people, at the beginning of their contracts, they don't think about it.
Yeah.
That's why I always say that sometimes I blame the both parties, because at the point where the relationship is about to start, you understand? At the time where the relationship is about to start, it's important to know that these guys are all in a hurry to just sign contract. There are some artists there's one artist that is really big now. I saw an interview from him. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm sure most of you have seen it. I saw an interview from him where he said, when he got to the guy that signed him, when the guy was talking about, oh, he said, Baba, drop anything for table. I want to just sign. Please, artists, please. This kind of sessions is to help you understand that no matter how much you are pushing for a label to sign you, make sure that you have a proper, well-informed entertainment lawyer. Please, because I know that you want to blow, you want somebody to invest in you, but you see, this thing they call, I have my friend, Asa. He always says something, you rush in, you rush out. So if you rush in, you rush out. So what it means is, please get people like Amanda and her colleagues who are, entertainment lawyers. There are a lot of them. Please look out for them and make sure that you pay them the right fee. Let them sit down and advise you, speak to you about a lot of things that have to do with your contract. So I want to go into um I'm just going to ask you a random. This is just going to be an open question. Haven't been in the industry this long, right? What's the craziest contract you've ever seen? You don't need to mention the people's names. What's the contract that you've seen between artists or when you're trying to maybe mitigate and you saw a contract? What's the craziest contract you've ever seen? And why do you think it's a crazy contract?
Okay, there's a lot, and I'll just try and pick one that has like the most important information or most important lesson. I was a contract that was ready at the end. The artist wanted to leave, but then the amount of money that they were telling the artist is owing the record label, the artist could not make sense of it because he felt he hadn't had his wow moment or his blown moment while signed to that record label. But at the end of the day, because of the fact that artists don't get involved in business per se, they don't realize how expensive it is. And also because they don't get involved in the business, it's possible for a record label to be making a decision that is not really beneficial for you, but they are making they are making a decision based on what they think the market will
Yeah.
need, and they are spending money. So basically, the agreement was, first of all, he was signed for a period of time and had automatic renewals immediately without stopping. Now, the good thing was that that didn't trigger because even the record label was tired and was ready to let go
Okay.
of everything. The only reason why we are in a point of debate was how much. So initially, when the record label signed, they said they are going to invest 250 million, but they said there will be room for adding additional money into his investment.
Yes.
But where it gets tricky is that I always advise people that if they're going to state an amount that they're going to invest and make room for additional, then that additional has to be vetted. And if
Yes.
possible, before they agree or before you agree for the additional, audit the account based on what they've spent before.
Mm-hmm.
So the contract was drafted in a way that the additional was going to automatically just start counting.
Yeah.
When the
So the
account
additional
for
money on top of the 250 million.
on top of 250 million they had already initially. So it was based on if there's a need, whether the need is coming from the artist or it's coming from the PR or it's coming from marketing, wherever it's coming from. At first, it's for the artist,
Mm-hmm.
and the record label thinks it's necessary. Then they'll just keep putting money and keep adding it to the money that is not recouping.
Okay.
Now, not also paying attention to the fact that this artist has not made enough money for you guys to recoup at the first one.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, the money they were presenting to him was almost times 3 of what his initial investment fund was. And there was no
So they
reversal
were giving him that he was
clause,
owing the company 750 million.
close to 750
Oh,
million.
wow.
And there was no reversal clause for his rights. So the company is like, do you know what? I'm taking this catalog. And as I'm taking this catalog, I'm also taking it plus all the songs you've submitted, because in the agreement it says any unreleased song that is submitted to us, whether I release it or not, is a property of the record label.
So knowing the music industry, I think if somebody spends 750 million in this our industry, in this our Niger, he go show. Except the person, or you already your
Sometimes,
head. Eh?
not
No, I'll
always,
tell you why I say that.
not always.
If you spend, maybe, I don't know how they've spent the money, because
That's the
sometimes I
thing.
tell people, you hear people who come to you and say, oh, we spent X amount of money on doing this, doing that, and then nothing came out of it, right? But except they were spending that money on things that were not, you know, directly beneficial. Because I tell people, why would you sign an artist? And guys,
Mm.
please listen to this thing carefully. Why would you sign an artist that you quickly go and get the guy a house in Ikoyi, get the house guy, maybe a guy's house
Or
in
sometimes it's the artist. I've been in a room for conversation and the
where the
artist was
artist want that, right?
insisting on
Exactly.
that.
So
And then the lawyer for the record label was reminding the artist, in case you don't listen to your lawyer, these are recoupable costs. And the artist was like, no, I want an apartment at the Koyi, 4-bedroom apartment, because I need my family to come and live with me, and I need a studio, and I need a Lincoln car. So
a
I'm
Lincoln
like,
car.
do you understand that you're going to maintain with what money? So sometimes the artists dig the hole for themselves by asking for these things without realizing that the money still comes out from your pocket. And some deals are crazy that the record label will tell you you don't get a dime to recoup. If you're seeing a deal wired that way, where you're not seeing shishi, and then it's even a 360 deal, that means they're taking money from everything that is coming in
Yeah.
and recouping from everything, and you're still making ridiculous requests. In such situations, either you have the leverage to to negotiate a split that is favorable,
Yeah.
or you reduce what your
Your exposure.
exposure is
Yeah.
going to be, so they can recoup faster and everybody just moves on.
Okay. So my thing is this, guys. I want to say this. Haven't we've been here? We've been in this industry long enough. I always tell people this is my, I think, 18 years doing this thing. And one thing that is very important that I've seen is some artists they want to eat now and they don't care about tomorrow. And I tell people this: build your career, build your brand, build your own situation, and everything about the money that the record label wants to spend on you should be about your career. Now, your career doesn't mean that you go and want, right now, rent of a 4-bedroom house in Ikoyi is like 50, 60 million naira, depend on the area. Or some places are even 100,000. I saw rent for $150,000 in Ikoyi. $150,000 now is over 200 and something million. Now, there's no way you are going to tell me that in year one, year two, you don't blow. That a company will still your company will still want to spend 200, maybe 50 million naira a year on rent in Ikoyi. Two, cost of living expenses is high.
Mhm.
Now, when you pay rent 50 million naira, you know that there's also service charge. You pay service charge of maybe 10 million naira. Then there's diesel, maybe some people diesel deposit. There's a lot of things that, I know what, when you've done all of these things, you now become too comfortable. And I tell people that for upcoming artists, the part of your story and your hustle is that you don't need to create too much comfort for yourself. If not, you're not going to wake up to go and hustle. Because the reason why you guys are putting money together is, you know how startups are. You have to build a startup. You have to build the company to get it out there. Don't become too try. I always say this: don't try to be too comfortable at the beginning of the contract, because once that happens. So I saw someone wrote something on Instagram today. No, yesterday. He said, when before you blew, you had that hustle, that hustle, that hustle. Now that you, no, before you got an investor or a record label, you had that hustle in you. Now you've gotten the record label, you understand? You just chill because the
They're
record
begging
label,
you to now
do
work.
you understand? And I feel like artists need to understand that when you get to a point where the record label is begging you to work, there's a red flag, because the record label should not beg you to work. You should wake up every day, hustle your shit, go out there and make sure that you get what you need to get. Because at the end of the day, contract might expire.
Mm.
If your name is Okoko Michael and it becomes big, you are going to take your name and continue performing shows, but you've left the record label. Now, if the record label is what's it called? Is lucky enough for you to have a song that is a big song or a song that they can recoup at least for the next 2-3 years, it makes sense.
Mm.
So now, my question to you is this: do you think that 360 deals in our industry are good deals? And
I think it
why?
depends on your leverage. It depends on your leverage and at what point in what level you are in the industry, or what point you are in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Then you said something before you added me. You
Yeah.
talked about, which is one thing I learned from you when I was doing the deal for your artist last
Yeah.
year, which was making the deal flexible to the point that if the artist has attained this, it becomes a
Yes.
partnership, because you have to pay attention to the fact that this artist is going to get to a point where they know what they want. At this point, it's not based on what you're giving them
And
anymore.
that's why I tell people a lot, right? I used to tell my colleagues in the office, I say, listen, this is not, I don't think artists should sign deals that are too rigid anymore. It should be partnership deals where today, if it's not working, guy, we're in this together. How can we? Because
Yeah.
if it goes way far away from what they call of what, because back in the day people signed based on, oh my, this guy is my slave. It's not, that's not how things are different now.
Yeah.
This guy can be pushing once, become an independent artist, and he's
Mm-hmm.
pushing, his song becomes big. You hear the likes of Virgin Music and Co Empire and Co will just come and say, you know what, let's give you a deal. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Guys can become independent now by just pushing and pushing. And today there are a lot of tools that you can use to become a big artist.
Yeah.
So now, in your own case, going back to because there are some people
The
that want to know about the
360.
360 deal.
Yeah.
What Explain what a 360 deal is to them,
Okay.
and then in your own suggestion, what do you think you would advise, and why would you advise someone either to take a 360 deal or not to take a 360 deal?
Okay. So a 360 deal, someone already said it's like an all-round deal. So it's a deal where the record label is gaining, basically they are earning from every income that is coming into your pockets. So a 360 deal could be good for, it could be good if you're looking at it from a point of giving the record label the opportunity to recoup faster and then artists start making money. But it's tricky. If you're going to get a 360 deal, the general advice would be get a lawyer to help you review that contract, because an artist can be presented with a 360 deal. I don't think it's a bad deal, but it's not how you structure it. A 360 deal where the record label is saying, I'm going to recoup from all your income, generally, that's a bad deal. But a 360 deal where the record label is saying, I'm going to get cuts from all your deal, and each of my cuts coming in is adding to what I'm recouping for you, that's a good deal. Because in that situation, if the record label gets 20% from a club appearance you have, that's 20% added to the pool of what they're recouping from you.
Yeah.
But if they don't word it that way and it's just like, oh, we're recouping from all your income and this is where your split is, then that means you're going to be in a situation where, and that's what most deals I've seen in Nigeria, or let's just say in West African has looked like,
Yeah.
which is a 360 deal where the record label is recouping from everything. So at the end of the day, even if the artist go to club and perform, the artist is popular, but he's going home with nothing.
Yeah.
Because that money they'll tell you, we put it in logistics, the record label took their own, there's nothing
So
coming to
what
you.
you're saying is, the contract an artist should sign should be, every deal you make, you should make a percentage from it while they are still recouping.
Yes.
So it doesn't look like you are going for shows and you're
Thank you.
not getting anything. Because I think that's where,
In general states,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. Generally, I always tell people, even if it's not a 360 deal, if it's a deal where the artist is recouping for you, because if it's a deal where the record label is recouping from you, most times they're recouping from your streams, some other royalties coming in. If possible, depends. That's why I say everything depends on your leverage. If you can possibly negotiate a deal where they recoup at a cap, so where they say only 70% of your deals or 7% of your income will touch. So what that means is if the deal is 70-30, you take 70%, they take 30%. Out of that, your 70%, they recoup only 70% from the 70%.
Yeah.
That means at the end of the day, you see money, you see something you're going
Yeah.
home with while they are
Yeah.
recouping. That's a fair deal. But in all sincerity, everything boils down to your leverage. A Davido now, or let's not even use Davido, a Omale now can definitely not sign a 360 deal.
Yep.
Do you understand? And
Yep.
Omale can easily say, I'm telling you, I'm going to give you, take just streams or this income, or take this income just from
Yeah.
this records. They can call those shots because of the leverage they
Yeah.
have. But if you're a new artist, I'll just tell you, get a lawyer. If they present you with a 360 deal, don't say, oh no, this person is trying to rip me off. No. Get a lawyer to structure it properly. A good 360 deal can be good for you, especially one that is flexible, where at some point, every recoupment, everything settles down.
Yeah.
For example, there was a deal I did recently where the record label said, almost similar to yours, where record label said, we're going to recoup at this point. There'll be a cap, but we're going to recoup to this point. And once we're done recouping our investment funds,
Yeah.
we are going to start sharing this way. You go home with this, I go home with
Yeah.
this. The changing the splitting formula changes.
Yeah.
That way the artist is actually anticipating. The artist is more open to saying, okay, I'm going to get an auditor to look through our books. Let's see how far I've gone in recouping. Let me know how many singles or how many EPs or what I'm going to put out for me to pay these guys money faster, and then this becomes a partnership. So I don't think it's a bad deal. You just get a lawyer to properly get an entertainment lawyer to properly structure it for you.
Okay. So this something is very important, right? Um, you spoke about auditing. Now, a lot of contracts I've seen in the past did not never had auditing clauses, right? And that's where the problems always, you know, come up. You know, how important is an auditing clause in contracts?
It's very important. Any contract that has to do with money, whether it's a record label deal, whether it's a future agreement, whether it's a split sheet, anything that has to do with your pay me money, or I'm going to receive this from you, it's always very important to have an auditing clause. But then I tell people, because then when auditing clause come up, the party receiving the information. Let's say now the record level in this question is always like, oh, after some years, it'll be difficult for me to open up my books. Then I tell them you can put a, let's say, a restriction where you say, okay, you can audit as far back as 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Do you get? So that way the artists can be on their toes. They know, okay, they cannot wait and 10 years later they come back, they want audits. That will be difficult for the record label. But it's always important, both for you, both for the artist, for the sake of transparency, there must be an auditing, an accounting and auditing clause in any agreement that has money exchange somewhere.
Okay, let's talk about duration. What's the favorable duration you feel like um a contract should have? What's the favorable duration you feel a contract should have?
3 to 5 years.
Why 3 years and why 5 years?
Okay, because I feel a lot changes. So at the beginning of a deal, every party is always anticipating, they're always very, very happy. 1 year down the line, things change because there's always expectation. There's this, no matter how much you have meetings, no matter how you talk to lawyer, no matter how you draft the contract, there's this unspoken expectation on both people's parts. Oh, I'm going to blow. Oh, this record label will do this for me. So you don't want to be in a contract where you're tied in for a long time, because at some point frustration steps in. And I think that's the point where you see, because there's contracts that have come and gone and everything went smoothly. But I think it's that frustration that pushes it to the point where everybody's not dragging each other. So
Yeah.
I'll say 3 to 5 years, depending on how the agreement is structured and depending on what point the artist is coming in. If you guys have already established, oh, the artist has to go through some development phase and branding phase and all of that, then can do 5 years. But even 5 years, even for you, is a stretch. I feel 3 years, after 3 years, you cannot give opportunity to renew for an extra 2 years if the artist or the record label wants to.
Okay, so the next question is about um development clause. You know, there are some record labels that sign artists and put them in development for some time, and maybe some artists here 1 year they are in development, they are developing themselves and everything. Do you think that clause, that 1 year or maybe 6 months, should be added to the existing contract, or it should stand alone?
It depends. So I've seen the record labels at handle development stage
Yeah.
differently. There are record labels that will tell you that developing the artist to then decide if they want to give the artist a deal
Okay.
or not. So record labels develop the artist to shop to other companies and other labels to make
Okay.
money. Do you get? So it all depends. If you know you already want to sign the artist, if you're signing the artist already, then that development stage can be stated. Again, if you have plans and you think, okay, I want this contract to be 3 years, but you must go through 1 year development. Mind you, everything we are saying as to this is what number of years is supposed to be and all of that is based on our own thinking. If you communicate this to the artist, explaining to them fully, and the artist has legal representation, the person says, okay, I think I can do 1 year, and then we now decide if we're signing or we'll now start counting the 3 years, then it's fine. There's nothing wrong with counting the 1 year in. There's nothing wrong with counting the 1 year out. It's just everybody understanding what they're bringing to the table and what they are accepting. But if I should give an opinion, if I should advise my own clients, if you already know you want to sign the artist, then sign it and count the 1 year in. At most, you can now give room for renewal if you think down the line you might want to extend this contract beyond 3 years.
Okay. The question is also under development clauses that some labels have. So when an artist is in development stage and the artist is recording music at that point, now at that point, some, like you said, some artists are in development, they've not given them contracts yet. Who owns the songs that are recorded during that period? Because at that point they've not been given a contract yet.
Yeah.
So who owns the songs at that period, at that point
If
where before they are signed?
if a proper contract wasn't given, then sadly by intellectual property is the artist that own it. But if a
So even if
contract
the
is
label paid for it.
even if the labor pays for it. Sadly, our law, the way it's structured, is that the ownership lies on the person creating, except if the payment is a thing of employment. If you employ the person under your company, then whatever the person is creating then belongs to you. But if it's not under employment and it's just you brought the artist, you're developing the artist, sadly, ownership lies with the artist, not the record label. But if you're going to give a deal, then proceeds or any outcome of that is supposed to be owned by both people. Do you get? Because for example, in the film industry, there's something that go on within development phase where a producer can reach out to a can reach out to a writer and say, "Oh, let's develop your script further."
Yeah.
And after we develop it, you can shop around and look for anybody that wants to make this into a movie.
Yeah.
Do you get? In that situation, any work developed beyond what the script was initially is owned by both the writer and the producer and the company that invoked the
Yeah.
development. So if a contract is there, then it should be owned by both people. Or you can decide, oh, we hold on to it, and then when it's time for release, we decide what the intellectual property is going to be. But if there's no contract, it belongs to the artist.
Okay, so what in the let's, because most of the questions I'm asking are I'm asking as though I don't know, so that when we explain it, people get to understand. So what happens in the case where an artist brings a song into the deal, brings songs into the deal? For example, an artist has recorded all her his or her songs as at the time the record label signed the artist, right? Um, what do you think should be done for the label to own rights to that song at that time? What should the label do? Because at this point, the artist has paid for the production and the writing or whatever of those songs, and they own it 100% at the time before they sign to the record label. What do you think should be the negotiation at that point? Oh, for example, oh, I came with an album already. The album is ready, and then the label has listened to the songs, and there's songs that they will want to release. At that point, what do you think should be the conversation as a lawyer? What would you be advising the record label? Because on this side is the artist is coming with the songs. What would you be advising the record label?
So on a typical face value, it's supposed to be a thing of you buying the intellectual property in that song if you want it. So it's you offering the artist money to either buy it up or offering money to license it. But if I'm on the part of the record label and I'm advising the person, I'll just tell you, instead of having the artist transfer the rights to you, you might as well just find a distribution deal for the artist and get it cut, because that record is already done, except it's a thing of, oh, we're reworking the record and all of that. But sadly, I've still seen situations where the artist will end up transferring the rights to the record label willingly without even asking for any upfront money or asking for any advance or asking for any license fee in question. Do
Yeah.
you get? But I always say, whatever it is that was agreed on, document it. And if you're the record label, in order not to, artists, I don't say something that seems like it's defamation, but sometimes artists decide something and they forget that they decide it.
Yep.
Like when they blow, they forget that at this point I was hungry and I made this decision without talking to anybody.
Yep.
So as a record label, not find yourself in that situation. Just simply find a distribution deal, be like a middleman and get your cut, and then go into a fresh deal with the artist where you're making fresh music and pushing fresh music and leave
So
the old catalog.
so for me, if you ask me, if an artist comes to me with a complete project, right? I'll rather advise the art. I'll rather pay. So, for example, the artist has paid for songwriting, mixing, and mastering, and everything. I'll pay for the songs. I'll either pay the artist if the artist has paid already. I'll pay for the songs, and so that it's part of the deal. Because, like you say, when artists are hungry, I'm just thinking Pex's comment. When artists are hungry, they can sell in their life. That's why I always say, you know, I was saying this thing. I think it was you. I was saying this thing to the other day. I say it feels like now when you sign an artist, in 3 years' time, be ready for war. You guys are going to fight because I don't know why that thing is that way, and we need to find a way to figure out why there's always that continuous dispute. But I was talking to a friend, and he said anything that has two humans coming together to do, there's always going to be a problem. You understand? So I feel like going forward, this kind of conversations need to be had a lot so that people understand what to do and what not to do. And as an artist, no matter how much you are begging a label to sign you, please sit down and understand the terms of your agreement and the things that you guys agreed, so
Mm-hmm.
that you work. Because I tell people, some people say, "Oh, I don't want to sign contract." Someone say any artist that don't want to sign contract is a criminal. Anybody that says they don't want to go sign contract, they are criminal. But the truth is
Yeah.
this: contracts are not life sentences. Please, guys, contracts for me, I always tell people that contracts are guidelines to what you agreed and what I agreed, and we just
Yeah.
put it on paper so that tomorrow we don't say, "Oh, I didn't remember that I said this." But once the contract is there and we all agree on everything, is important. So how
Also,
important? Yeah.
sorry, just to add to what you said. Also, when they give you the contract, I think another thing that I've realized in the industry again is that people tend to take the words of the person giving them the contract over what's in the
Hmm.
contract. So if they give you a contract, what you signed is what you signed. Whether this person told you, oh, don't worry, after 3 years, we'll do this. If it's not in the contract, it's not in the contract. Because there's a part of the contract that clearly states this contract supersedes any oral or any conversation or any
Yep.
existing agreement
Yep.
before
Yep.
this. Like, this is the compact thing. So whatever the person is promising, if the person is promising to do this, how many works, introduce you to this person. If it's not in the contract, it's not, is not what's the word, you cannot implement it, sadly. So always choose whatever is in the contract over whatever the person is telling you. I think that's the most important thing, because I've noticed it happens a lot in the industry.
So how important is an addendum during the course of the contract? Because you see, like you said earlier, contracts are 3 years, 5 year contracts. Say 5 years is a long time, and that I think that clauses should be added to contracts that every 2 years we have to sit down and rejig and look into the contract in some areas, not everything. Because then if we now renegotiate some terms, you know, owing to our current situation, we should renegotiate those terms and put an addendum. So how important is an addendum in going forward with building contracts between an artist and a record label?
I think you said it all. An addendum is very, very important. For those that don't know what an addendum is an instrument or a contract that helps to amend the already existing contract forward or further. If you want to change something in the contract, if you want to reduce the number of years or increase the number of years, change the split, it doesn't end in we agree this, we shake hands and go. No. You have to enter an addendum where you're saying, okay, this former split, this is what our split is, now I want to increase the split. Or initially we added your publishing money. After such conversations, we are not going to touch your publishing money. It's your money, take it and go. We are changing. It's very, very important, like you say, to always have that conversation. I think having the conversation, not even I think, having the conversation supersedes coming online to drag anybody or coming online to start, oh, my record label did this. Most times, these artists, or most times artists don't even have the conversation. Not to say that artists have had the conversations and they're coming online as last resort. I get that as well. But addendum is always very, very important for you to change and amend anything that is in the contract that both parties intend or want to amend.
So how enforceable, right, are contracts in Nigeria? Because this is like my last question before we give out another 5 minutes for people to maybe ask a few questions before we, because I don't want these lives to be too long. We've already done 48 minutes. So how important, yeah, is what did I ask again?
You said how important, I think you said some, you asked initially for
Yeah,
addendum.
okay, so the most important thing, right,
Mm.
I feel like with artists, right? How enforceable are artist contracts in Nigeria? Because you know how important it is for because someone asked a question. Let me go back to that question now.
Mm.
So you see why I asked that question in terms of jurisdiction. The guy said, "What if the record label is from outside the country with you, which you use West Africa?" I don't know. He think I don't know if the person is Nigerian because the way he's writing, he said maybe a foreign con. So in terms of jurisdiction, yeah, how enforceable are contracts in terms of when you have a dispute with an artist? So, for example, an artist here has like 2 years left in his contract, but he's still trying to release music and putting music on distribution platforms. You understand? Without going through the record label, or going through the right source so that the record label can recoup. How enforceable is that? How do you enforce that kind of situation where you try to stop the artist from doing that?
I think first thing is just cease and desist letter first to the artist. I think that's the first thing to communicate, just in case, like Pegs is said, selective amnesia. In case you've forgotten that you're in a deal, you're in
Yeah.
a record label deals, and you're not supposed to release any song outside the record label for this period of time. So after that, anything that you now want to do further apart from the cease and desist, if you want to take any action, it now depends on what the contract says. So most times contracts give rules and regulations. Basically, if you already established those are terms and conditions you're working with. So some contracts will say if there's a breach, the record label first of all have a conversation, have a meeting, try to sort it internally, then go to either arbitration or mediation and any of these out of door court settlement before they go to court. So you just follow through whatever the contract said. But I think the first thing for you to do is the cease and desist letter, just in case it's an honest mistake. Most times you won't think it's an honest mistake. If it's an honest mistake, stop the person from doing it. If the artist is going to release the song with someone else, like a feature, write to that person as well and let the person know this artist is not supposed to do this because he's signed to this deal.
All right. Amanda, I want to thank you. I know that I'm going to bring you back sometime on this platform with a few of your colleagues, and I want us to talk about split sheets, because that's one thing a lot of people don't really understand what a split sheet is. Back in the day, when you go, like now, back in the day, when you go to the studio, when you go to the studio and you tell somebody, "Oh, sign first before we start recording music," they start feeling some type of way. But you see, it's very important to know what level of contribution people have on every work that is created.
Yeah.
So, guys, when next we come on the show, we're going to be talking about split sheet. We'll be back here on Friday. Amanda, thank you so much. You delivered, like someone just said, you delivered very well. Guys, send Amanda a DM. If you want her to be your lawyer, don't send DM about another thing, but send Amanda a DM. She's a very good lawyer. I had um, I'm going to be having as many lawyers as possible, for us to break down these contracts and dispute resolution. We're going to be talking about split sheets on Friday. So I'll bring up another lawyer for us to kind of break that in and, talk extensively on it. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you. Is there something
Thanks
last
for
you want to say
having me.
before you go so that we can wrap it up?
I think most of the questions people asked within, or some of the questions I saw coming in repeatedly was, what if I cannot afford a lawyer? What do I do? And
Okay.
I will say this. I believe there's every lawyer for every artist.
Hmm.
Do you get? You can easily find a lawyer that will grow. You might not be able to afford a record label, sorry, a law firm lawyer, but there's a lawyer that you'll be able to afford. So even if it's that your friend that is trying out entertainment law, or that your friend that is beginning entertainment law journey, grow with the person. Start somewhere. That's one. Two, I think again, I like to believe, I might be wrong, but I like to believe that it's a thing of priority. If I really want to buy something, no matter how expensive it is, I will save towards
Hmm.
it because I know this is
Yeah.
this. So if you think it's very important, if you always remember that, I think at the back of your mind, just always have it that my song, according to intellectual property, is supposed to last 70 years after I die.
Yeah.
That means this your career, this your product, any music you're putting out is something that you're going to enjoy for your lifetime, and you can leave it for your
Yeah.
family
So you
members
reap
and your
you
estate
reap
to
in
enjoy.
perpetuity.
Do
Yeah.
you get? So when you're thinking about it as a long-term goal, maybe you take it a bit more seriously. So no matter the situation you're in, not think that, oh, I cannot afford a lawyer. Just find a lawyer within. I never can tell, you might just text someone and the person is in the spirit for pro bono and person do it for you on that. But that shouldn't stop you because of your pocket or whatever situation, shouldn't stop you from getting a lawyer.
All right, thank you so much. I really want to appreciate you and see. Women are very, very brilliant. Women are very, very brilliant, and I love the way you've been articulate. And I don't know if because a woman just won Grammy. And also, guys, "Love Me, JJ" was originally recorded in 2007. No, sorry, 1997, Rabi, and then in 2025 is winning a Grammy. Just understand that your music you're creating today can turn out to be something in the future, that will be used to create something of the new, right? Ideas are cloud based. Everybody is doing their own thing. And I said it already. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Have a great day. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on the show. Have a great
Thank you
night.
for having me.
All right, bye.
All right.